Okay, I think it's about to start the second half of this workshop. This second half deals with arts and cultural uses in the main, and we have we'll kick off with question 4 on the agenda. The City of Westminster wants to continue to protect and support arts and cultural uses. And so we're looking for ideas on how we can do this, but in particular, should we have a stronger policy to protect music venues? And if we should this protection be subject to any specific criteria? For example, the length of time it has been a music venue and the size of the venue or location. Obviously here we're talking about live music. Anybody want to start this off, or anybody want to say anything? Okay, Di.
Hello there, Stanley House, a really useful group. Yeah, just a comment, a personal comment and a view of our company is that live music venues generally are quite reflective of theatre. Theatre, because of the growth of musicals, most of our major theatres now in the West End are almost music venues. Specific music venues which serve a specific need, a specific requirement. You'll probably all be aware the Astoria is now dust, although it's over the border. My feeling is that I think the same protection that's given to theatres should be extended where possible to music venues, where they are historic and specific and well-known parts of the West End streetscape, not just any Tom, Dick or Harry pop-up music club, but something that's in everybody's heart and well-known in the West End.
Ronnie Scott. I mean,
yeah, that'd be good.
Charlotte Ferguson again. Yeah, simply to say that I would second that. You say Ronnie Scott, so I would say the 100 Club, somewhere like that. I just absolutely agree.
Gentleman at the front, Di. Thank you.
I'm Graham Dixon from the Classic Fairytale Company. Just a quick question to, when you say live performance, do you mean amplified or live? The distinction between the two?
I would imagine. I mean, I don't know. Maybe someone can help me out. Does anyone know the distinction? But I mean, I'm
probably got a licensing slant on this, but live music is one that's performed, whether it's using amplification or not. So unamplified music, there are certain provisions for that, pretty unsatisfactory, but there are some provisions for exemptions under the Licensing Act for that. But no, I think live music is music which is played at the time. Also, I mean, it's a point of interest in it, but DJing and mixing counts as live music rather than recorded music in terms of what it requires a consent for. But no, live music would include, most music needs to be amplified.
As opposed to Wigmore Hall or venues such as that don't need amplification.
Well, no.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't think what is written here was envisaging a distinction between unamplified concert venues and concert venues that use amplification, or the performers use amplification.
So it's the same
the same
thing,
I
really.
think.
I mean, if I could just add, just generally, I mean, at present we have quite a general arts and cultural policy which protects arts and cultural uses. Now, we don't have a specific live music venue policy, however you define live music. So I think that what we're looking at is just ways of providing additional protection. Are there particular arts and cultural uses that need additional protection? So in some ways it's quite hard for us to answer what we mean by live music venues, because there isn't a current policy on that at the moment. So it's kind of looking ahead, and are there particular arts and cultural uses which need particular additional protection, especially in the light of the fact that we've lost some live music venues recently.
So protection
Well, not allowing a change of use.
Or can I add, or providing a replacement facility. I mean, that can be an alternative to...
Is there a perceived threat to live music venues that warrants a policy?
Well, that's something we'd want to ask.
Yeah, 'cause personally, I'm not aware of any, but you may know something that the
No, I'm not either.
no. So I mean, there's policies of protection can be a sort of a double-edged sword. It can almost allow existing venues once they're protected, to just not change and not develop and not evolve, or not have pressure to improve the offer that they have. So, but we all know and love Ronnie Scott's. And if Ronnie Scott's were to close or want to close one day, then what's it going to be replaced by? You might not want it to be replaced by some other new live music venue.
I just comment, if I may. It is very difficult. The Astoria has closed recently, as you probably know, but in that case a replacement is envisaged. We were very conscious that the Marquee Club, which some of us remember with affection, had closed, and when they tried to reopen again in Leicester Square, we immediately warmed to that. Unfortunately, it didn't succeed for whatever reason, but it got a license to. So I mean, I think that this is the great problem. This is so specific that you are in danger of maintaining something for which there is no interest anymore.
It's a bit like showrooms.
In terms of just offering some balance, and obviously this is an open forum, so this may be more of a personal view, but obviously I think maybe what the concern is that Westminster loses some of those uses that are of international or national repute. I don't think it's necessarily a music venue per se, but maybe those internationally renowned ones that add to the tourism mix of central London.
Paul Cutts again. And perhaps I can offer a perspective as a former music journalist on the threat to live music making. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the work of the Live Music Forum, which was run by Fergal Sharkey. They've done a lot of work, and there's a lot of information online about the implications of changes to licensing laws, particularly, and the impact that that's had on provision of music venues. There seemed to be a bit of a dip when the new licensing provisions came in about which organisations were, because of some of the obstacles that had to be overcome to be granted a licence. Quite a lot of pubs, restaurants, bars, places that were traditionally providing music decided to not provide that option to musicians. So there has been a perceived threat that's changing somewhat as people have got more used to the licensing provision, but there is some interesting stuff online if you want to go and look there. Secondly, I would, third or fourth, whichever one it is now, support absolutely protecting places like Ronnie Scott's, places such as Pizza on the Park, which is an interesting one because it's probably the only international cabaret venue that London has, but is obviously in a restaurant facility. So there are some, it's not an easy, I don't envy you the task. It's a very complicated mix of provision for live music making in the city. But I'm also, again, coming back to that point about how the industry changes and how music moves forward as well as an art form, that you build in enough flexibility to enable new spaces that may well become the traditional music venues in 10, 15, 20 years' time to be created. And I think it's very important that, again, that protecting existing venues doesn't preclude new traditional music venues from actually being born and evolved.
Yeah, you're quite right. It was a perceived threat, and unfortunately, I do think that the licensing law, which stopped us being obviously two in the bar, doesn't need any kind of protection, was a great pity. But apart from that, it was only a perception, I think.
Can I think just expand for those who are not familiar. Under the old licensing regime, you could have two performers in a bar. It didn't require any license, and that disappeared under the Licensing Act 2003 and was replaced by a very, very complicated provision which I won't bother you with, but doesn't actually meet the needs of live music.
Anybody else like to add anything on that? Or actually even maybe we should move on to the second part of that question.